course, we'll try to fix that sound and go back to that interview. But for now, Matters Entrepreneurship. With me in the studio to discuss just that, Jeff Jao Mwe. He is an expert on entrepreneurship. He, of course, is a man many know over the internet because he has been putting out quite a bit of, well, education for entrepreneurs to be able to grow themselves in one way or another. And the reason he's here today is to look at the basics. A lot of the things that have been said in this bulletin in the recent past, whether by the CS for the industrialization or many others that you've just seen talking about growing jobs, employment, that sort of thing. Where exactly do we begin? Karibu sana, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
First off, to, of course, reiterate the notion that for many entrepreneurs, they want to begin somewhere. But while a lot of people indeed know that they do want to go into entrepreneurship, they don't know where to start. They don't know how to move their businesses from just a startup to the next phase. What exactly are these lessons that we should be looking forward to?
All right. First, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure being here. Mm-hmm. The first thing that I always like talking about business is the fact that you have to have passion. Yes. Many entrepreneurs out there, you have an idea. Maybe you don't even know you're an entrepreneur, but you're passionate about this one thing. Mm-hmm. And you're asking about how to get started. The first thing I want to just tell our viewers is that there's money everywhere. There's money in everything. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do what you see is the in thing, because maybe you're not passionate in that thing. Mm. So the first thing is to realize that whatever it is that you're thinking about, if you do it to scale, if you do it well, there's a potential that you can be able to make money. That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. And it's very important because at the ideation stage, at the point you're thinking about that thing, many a times we second guess ourselves. Mm-hmm. There's usually this saying that the enemy is usually the inner me, mm-hmm. where it's the inner you telling you that thing doesn't have money, you can't do it. So that's a first fear that you have to conquer. Mm-hmm. Before we go to even capital, before we go to resources, before we go to the product. Mm-hmm. Is first conquering it as yourself. Mm-hmm. Saying that, you know what, I can be able to do this thing. Yes. Conquering yourself. And the question I would like to ask anyone out there is there someone out there who is making money in that thing that you like? Mm-hmm. If there is, it means that there is money in it and you don't have to go to the next place. So the first thing is being confident about the idea. Mm-hmm. Then the next step is starting where you are. Many of us say that, you know, you don't have money for this, you don't have money for that, but you have a lot of, what do you have in your hands? Yes. What do you have in your hands? Mm-hmm. You want to start a business, the first thing you think about is, who needs this thing? Before you think about coming to KTN and putting up an advertisement, mm-hmm. you can package that thing, put together a small WhatsApp, mm-hmm. if it's something that is visual.
I want to stop you right there because of something you've said. Because for a lot of people, they get into entrepreneurship because they need to get money.
Yeah.
But we're saying it's more about the passion.
Yes.
And also about filling a niche in society, because that's what you've just said. And the fact for a lot of the more successful companies globally is that they literally either identified a need that we didn't even know that we had. Because, for example, before mobile phones, no one thought about walking around with their telephones and that sort of thing. True. Before Apple came along, nobody thought of having things like iPads and that sort of thing. So how do you identify these niches in society, in your environment? How do you then start to conceptualize what these ideas might look like, even when those niches don't exist?
What bothers you? The question I'll ask you is what bothers you? If you are bothered by garbage a lot, then it means that problem becomes the opportunity that you start thinking about. Yes. The fact that it bothers you means that there are people, the players who are doing it are not doing it well enough, or they're not doing it to the standard that you hope, or maybe they're not doing it at all. So that's the first question. What bothers you? Every problem you see, and that's why you see there's a big shift of many people from the West, they're coming back to Africa, they're coming back to Kenya, because whereas people see the challenges that we have in Africa as the problem, many of us see them as the opportunity. So that's the first question. You figure out what bothers you. Not just about the money. Business is about creation of a solution. Yes. So you figure out, and how can you do it in now the smallest of ways, or in the way that is within the budget that you have. You can start it small. And many a times our businesses, we don't want to talk about the conversation of starting small. We want to start from, 14th floor in a glass building. But the truth is, there's a big probability you might have to start it within your home, so to even get to know to get the hang of it.
Yes.
I hope I answer you.
Well, indeed, at least it does clarify a few things for a lot of people. Then, after conceptualization, for most people, be it a service, be it a good that you're physically selling, most people literally don't know what the next step is, because this thing is in my head. What do I have to write a business plan? Do I literally just go to the market and roll it out? Do I start talking to friends and family about this thing? What exactly is the next step?
The second step after you have started conceptualizing,
yes,
is you figure out a product. Market only responds to product and value. So you've conceptualized, you've thought about this thing, you've thought about high-end fashion.
Yes.
Maybe you don't like the way fashion is tailored. So the next thing after that is you start figuring out, how does a product look like? And you start figuring out how to create a product. This time you've not even gone to the market, and you're conceptualizing and you're asking yourself, how would a product in that thing that you're thinking about, if it's about housing, maybe you're seeing the way people do housing, maybe it's the labor in the housing, it's not the best way. So how do you figure out a product? Now, figuring out the product means you have to ask yourself, how has this thing been done, or how is the industry generally? If it is about housing, you have to ask yourself, how have the guys, because hardly is there things that are very, very new. There's always someone who has tried it before. What did they do? How has the industry been in a layman's language? How has it been, and how can I now make it? So you try and figure out this product that you're trying, this solution that you're trying, vis-a-vis how the market usually is. So that now if you get to understand how the market usually is, you can now tailor a product. And the product might be a good, the product might be a service. After you've tailored that, you start having conversations, still informally, with people who are in that space. The second bit is what in business terms would be called market research. Market research is overcomplicated. Market research is just finding out how the game has been played before. Then after you've done the little market research, it can even start from a very easy level. Don't just do research with the people who have succeeded and the businesses that have succeeded, or those who have made it happen. Also the ones who have failed. Those ones actually give you more valuable lessons than those who have succeeded, because you get to know how not to do it, So after you've done that, you start having conversations with the people who are in the game. And when you have the conversations with the people in the game, you get to know, okay, this is how you penetrate in that industry. This is how you start off. And this happens even with the smallest of businesses. You want to start a hotel, find out where is it? What products to those people, because you might want to start a hotel and the products that those guys, the place you want to put your hotel, the people there cannot afford that product, or the product you want to sell to them is too low for them. You need a higher product. So the market research helps you to be able to understand how to penetrate. All this is before you have spent even 1 shilling on the actual product.
Finally, because we are nearing the end of our time, the market research is done, the conceptualization is done. What next?
After that, figure out a way of implementing it in the lowest level possible.
Now, this is where a lot of people have challenges, because I have this big idea. I'm not sure about scale. If I wanted to open a little duka selling vegetables, I'm not sure whether to go in with 100,000 shillings worth of cabbage. If it's a service that I want to sell to my colleagues and people like that, I'm not sure at what point to get in. How do I decide what sort of scale I will get in? Will it be determined by my cash? Will it be determined by demand? Will it be determined by other factors? How can people start to literally conceptualize what level their businesses should be operating in?
That's a fantastic question. Many people get stuck on that start area. You will take how to start is different with different industries. You have to ask yourself, in whatever thing that you want to do, what is the lowest level of that thing? Then ask yourself, how much money do you have as compared to the lowest level of that thing? Sometimes I address two kinds of people. There is a guy who doesn't have the money to do it.
Yes.
And there is someone who has but doesn't have enough. Let's start with the person who doesn't have any money to do it. Among the ways that you can be able to do is look for other players or other people, maybe family, maybe friends, who can be able to assist you or partner with you.
Yes.
And when you're asking for partnership, always don't, as you go to them, answer the question, what is in it for them? Don't just think about yourself.
So literally appeal to their greed.
Appeal to their greed.
Yes.
Don't appeal to their emotions. Don't appeal to their humanity.
Yes.
People are not interested about you. People are generally interested in themselves.
What's in it for them?
What is in it for me? WIFM.
Yes.
What is in it for me? Answer that question before you even talk to them. So I'll come to you, I tell you, Peter, I want to set up this kinyozi. And the kinyozi will make you so much money. You'll be so rich that you might even not need to do any other thing. So that way, I capture your curiosity, I capture your interest.
Yes.
It is not me coming to you and telling you, you know, the economy is so hard. You know, the way there are no jobs today and I already have a master's degree in this thing. That does not appeal to you because it has nothing to do with you making more money. That's the first thing. So if you don't have money, look for people who have some money or who can be able to work
support
with you in partnership. Sometimes you might not get those ones.
Yes.
So what you do is look for an entity that is already doing what you're doing. Then you come to them and tell them, hey, I want to come in and understand this game. You might not get the value of money in return, but you might get the value of experience, exposure. So that gets you started for everyone, whether you have the money to do it or you don't have the money to do it. If you are employed, you have an opportunity to have better or quicker access to credit. That means you can borrow a salary loan. So you can be able to go in and get some little money to do it. However, if you're borrowing to start, don't borrow too much. And borrow what you can be able to pay, even at worst case scenario, where your business does not make money.
Okay. Indeed, valuable lessons there, Jeff, for entrepreneurs. Indeed, this is Entrepreneurship 101. And today, of course, the takeaway, I think, for many of our viewers is the fact that you can start at whatever level you're in. If you have been saving for 10 years and you have millions, you can start at that level. If you have nothing and you simply have your passion, because that is something you can indeed start off at some point, whether by collaborating with people in the industry that you want to get into already, or finding some way to penetrate that market. Indeed, just to remind our viewers that next week we will be going to the second step, which essentially is once you've conceptualized and thought about what your market entry is, you then start to conceptualize how exactly you will literally start running. And then we start considering things like well, employment, human resource, cash flow, things like that, management 101. Again, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Well, indeed, that has been a conversation around entrepreneurship. The fact that with so many Kenyans getting into this thing, where exactly do you begin? That is a lesson that we wanted to take you through today. Next week, we want to take you through, of course, the second part of that conversation. The fact remains that once you have started your business, there are very many challenges that you will face. And of course, with that, we want to take you to a break so you can digest some of that we have talked about. We'll be back in just about a couple of minutes with more on the second part of our bulletin. So do stay with us here on KTN Business Today. Asante sana.